All right. So, hello to everybody who's joining us to watch this. My name is Justin Brown, and I'm the director of the Flint Youth Film Festival. And what we're doing today is something I've sort of had an inkling to do for a while. I always thought that it would be neat to have a conversation with young artists such as myself to kind of get an idea of like how we got to where we are and sort of inspire the younger people who are interested in making movies and giving this a shot themselves. So with that, we're starting this artist talk. So with that all said and put on the table, I want to introduce our first talkies for this artist talk series. And so these are four women who I met in Baltimore. They're based in Baltimore. They do various jobs within the film industry, like whatever you can think of, they've probably done it, and they've done their own projects. They worked on other projects, and they are four of the best people I can think of to talk to about this whole thing. So without further ado, let me introduce you all to Boob Sweat Films. We've got Imani, Makari, Samantha, and Camilla, and welcome to this chat, everybody.
Yes.
Cool. So
Excited to be here.
all right, so to get started, let's just go around the Zoom and everybody introduce themselves. So whoever wants to go first, just kind of tell us your name, what some of your kind of give an idea of like how you got started in film or got to where you are, and also maybe some like what your like primary artistic mediums are, like in terms of, like within film, like if it's like directing or writing or yada yada yada. So whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Makari Saunders. I actually started out in animation with a BFA from Howard University. And from there, I fell in love with doing video. So I went and got my master's at Michael, where I met Justin. And now I primarily work in doing visual effects and post-production and editing.
My name is Imani, and I've always loved film and television. And I am primarily an editor, as well as a script writer, and I guess you can say director as well.
What do you mean, I guess?
Director, producer. I prefer to be behind the camera and quiet in an editing cave.
Okay, I'll go. I'm Samantha. I started working I came to the industry from a little bit different of a way in. I started actually curating. I curated a film program at a small nonprofit theater in Baltimore. And through that, I met a lot of filmmakers. We did a lot of work with Baltimore filmmakers and was really inspired by the people that I met. And at a certain point, I thought to myself, I celebrate film all the time. I love film so much. I actually want to do it myself. So I ended up going back to school to get a degree in film. And now I work in primarily documentary as a producer. I also do some editing. Camila.
Hi everyone. What? Hi everyone. My name is Camila. I started out in post-production sound and eventually made a move to location sound, and that's where I love and live and stay most of my days in it.
All right, cool. So that's everybody. So I already welcomed you all, so I'm not going to do it again. So sort of get started, I think I want to start by talking about, like, I guess your paths to get here, because I know you guys all sort of mentioned how you kind of got here in different ways and such, but I was just kind of wondering how you think, your journey to get to where you are now inspired you in terms of like what you want to do with film and the stories you want to tell, everything like that.
I mean, I guess we could talk sort of about the genesis of this collective, maybe as the starting point.
I think that's a good idea, because like that was another thing I want to do, but I wasn't sure where to start. But I think that's a good place to start. Start about how you all kind of came together, the genesis of Boob Sweat. So take it away.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
we all met in grad school. As you know, Justin, you were there.
I was.
And and as part of me, Makari, and Samantha's, thesis, within the filmmaking program was to do a short film. And so we started working on my short film, We Be the Same, in fall of 2017, right?
18.
18.
18.
It's been a long time. Who knows?
Or in the summer of 2018. And the Boob Sweat comes from the fact that we were working in, this Maryland summer in a very hot house that had no central AC. And our production team was mostly women, and our cast was mostly women. And, there was a lot of boob sweat on set. And it's kind of just within that production that we all kind of came together creatively and began to own our individual skills as filmmakers. And that's how we started, but there's more to the story if someone wants to take that on.
What more? I feel like that's it.
Yes. I mean,
if
ever since then, we've been working together collaboratively, whether it's the four of us or even just two of us working together on something. It feels like regardless of what project that we are working on, and of course we have a couple in post-production right now, it's always been a boob sweat production. If one of us is touching it, boob sweat is on it. Essentially.
I like that.
Yeah,
I would say even when we're working on productions is definitely the thing that we like to do the most. But it's Boob Sweat. I mean, I work with them, but these are also my closest friends from grad school, Justin included. That these are the first people that, even if it's something that I'm not sure I want to release, they're the first three that I'm going to be like, hey, I wrote this, or I think I'm about working on this. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, that production that Amani talked about, We Be the Same, was sort of like the droplet that started Boob Sweat. But it's really, become a waterfall. That's disgusting. Sorry. That was, I think in 2018, we officially became a company in 2019. And between that production and now, we've worked on so many different things. We've learned so much. We've, made a lot of mistakes. And I think the thing that for me makes something Boob Sweat is just this feeling of like support and like mutual respect, and this way that we work together that I think is really uplifting.
There's a lot of trust, which is important in this industry.
Okay, so I mean that's a really awesome thing. So here's a question for you all. You guys as a collective have been likened to the Beatles in terms of filmmaking, or you could say like, the Monkees or the Who. Any four.
Ooh, I don't know if we should use Monkey Star.
Bad to say. Sorry, but you've all been compared to like any 4-member rock combo. And do you think those comparisons are fair, or do you think they're just a little outlandish?
I would say we're better than them.
Oh my God.
I would say it's completely outlandish. I totally disagree. But I mean, if you're making a comparison about like, groups of people with different strengths and different kinds of ways of working, I do think in that way, I guess we may be similar to one of those groups, because we definitely come to what we do with very different, perspectives, which is what I find so valuable.
Yes. If we had to choose a group, can we choose the Runaways?
You could choose whoever you want. I mean, I was also going to possibly toss out you guys are the Planeteers when you come together. Boob Sweat is Captain Planet, but that might be a bit of a stretch. I mean, anything I'm saying right now is probably considered a stretch, but saying you're all Planeteers would be a stretch. But if you were Planeteers, which of the five different rings would you guys say you are? So, I mean, I'll take whatever rings left over, but of the 5 Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, Heart. How would you guys divide yourselves? I'll take the last one so we can form Captain Planet in this conversation, because why not?
Can I claim fire? Is everybody okay if I get fire?
We might have to fight for that one.
All right.
Sam, you're definitely.
I would say you're the heart, though, Camilla.
These
There's
agreements
disagreement
right
on
now.
this.
I would say Camilla's the heart and Sam is the earth, because she's the one I feel like keeps us grounded. Camilla is definitely, I would say, the driving force of this month. Well, the thing is, Camilla, you're the only extrovert, whereas me, Sam, and Amani were like, let's shut down and sleep. Camilla's like, no, let's go. Let's talk it out. I need this. She's constantly always in the group chat, like, I need your opinion. I need this now. No one answered me. What is this? And keeps us engaged, which I appreciate, which is why I would say you're the heart, but that could also be fire. I would only say I'm the fire because I'm the one that's usually, when someone has been wronged or something's there, I'm the one who puts their foot down and is willing to fight any and everyone.
That's fair. So then where would you place Amani with all these different?
Amani is definitely water, because she's the one that is calm, cool, and collected at all times.
I'm also a Pisces.
That too.
So I think by process of elimination, that would mean I'm wind.
Easy breezy, Justin.
I feel like that works.
That actually does work. There you go.
It's
so,
whimsical. Yeah. You're a fun guy. Wind is perfect for you.
And I speak with a bad Russian accent at times, so it's perfect. Yeah.
We need something to accentuate those perfect curls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that right. Yeah. Okay, so that fun little tangent aside, let's talk about. Well, I don't know. So I'm trying to look at these little notes that came up, but I feel like we've kind of talked about these sort of things. This one might be something. You're all artists who made your way to film in different ways. How would you say your individual journeys have influenced you and your art? I feel like I already asked that, but we kind of like talked about it in a roundabout way with everything else. So give me a second. Okay, so how about this one? We're currently in the middle of a pandemic. Boo, boo. So I just want to talk about like how have you guys all handled like working on various projects during all this, since it started like a year or almost 2 years ago at this point, like, how is like that affected you guys obviously in your creative work, but also now that things did open up like they did, there's vaccinations and people being safer on sets, things like that. How has that affected how you go about doing your work?
I'd say it's a little hard because all of us, we work on individual things separately and then we do things together as well. For the things that we do together, the way it has affected on a day-to-day basis is everyone needs to get tested, everyone needs to get to be masked in order to step on set. On a less, like, I guess it's not less literal, conversations like this happen more often, Zoom meetings rather than in-person meetings. We had to adapt just like any other industry had, in the sense that we didn't see people for many months, and And when we had to see people, we just had to make sure that we were all being cautious and safe.
Yeah, kind of to jump on with that, I would say collaboratively working, it's definitely, in the beginning, I think there was just a sense of loneliness because we all did have to be very far apart with people's different schedules. It's hard to kind of schedule a time that everyone could be online at the same time, talking face to face, working things out. Me as an editor, it's one of those things that it was good and bad at the same time. It's like I can 90% work from home, but then also because I'm 90% working from home, there was definitely days where I wouldn't talk to anybody outside of like who I was living with for like a week or two at a time. So that was an adjustment period. And I'm glad that now that we have vaccines and safer, that's something I can do. But I will say something great that came out of the pandemic and is that it made film, and I would say a lot of film festivals, more accessible, which I think has helped a lot, is that there were so many writing programs that I remember seeing that you used to have to live out in like LA or New York or Atlanta to participate in, but now the pandemic happened, everything was virtual, you didn't have to live in those places, you could live somewhere else and doing them. I went to so many film festivals in this last year and a half because all of them were virtually online, so all I do is just pay a highly discounted ticket and I was able to see so much more work than I usually would have because of how it has changed and made it. And I hope that something has changed because it's one of those that I love film, but it does have an accessibility issue. And the fact that we have now proven that we can do all of this virtually and still make a profit, I don't think we should go back completely to in world. I think there should be an option.
Well, Sundance for the first time next year, they're going to be both in person and online. So I hope that other festivals continue, you know, that route.
Yeah, I think that if Sundance does something, it basically becomes an industry standard. So hopefully everybody's going to have their own sort of online portion of their festival for sure. Okay, so
Can I just say one more thing?
yes.
I think that something that also came from the pandemic for us, and I think for a lot of creatives, is that you spend a lot of time without being able to work and thinking about working. And I know that, you know, this resulted in, I think most or all of us like working on something creatively, you know, during this time. You know, one of them was a short film that Camila actually wrote and directed that we recently wrapped on, which was a pandemic baby of sorts. So I think there was something about this turn inwards that a lot of us did that I think was creatively fruitful for a lot of people.
Excellent. All right. So in terms, so now we've kind of talked about the pandemic, you know, and changing how we all did our creative processes and did a lot of stuff, and now it's kind of made things more accessible and everything like that. Were there any like things that you had envisioned doing or wanted to do, but then once March 2020 rolled around, you kind of had to like, you know, take like a back seat and just wait until everything kind of cools down, because even though things are better, working conditions are better and more safer and, you know, COVID conscious now, you can't do it because it feels a little too not okay in at the time of a pandemic, I think, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. I would feel like, Camila, that is also what you, especially connection with the projection we currently wrapped up on.
I feel like I feel like I understood like the first half of the question, and then like you lost me the second half, because I was thinking about how much, because I primarily work as a crew member, so that had to change a lot for me, right? Like the first few months, it was just like dead. It's like cancel everything. We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know when you bringing you out of the house. So that was the biggest change for me once March knocked on my door. But in what way were you saying, Makari, that
I was thinking about the production that we just wrapped. Our original shoot date was actually in August of 2020 because we thought, oh, it happened in March, we'll lock down for 2 weeks, everything will be fine. We won't have to do that. And then things just kept going, kept going. People got vaccinated, but then there was like a second uptick. And so that date of when to film it kept getting pushed back as well.
It was going to be March of 2021.
21?
Yeah, so what
Okay.
happened, it was Delta showed up.
Delta, yeah. So I was like, something happened in the pandemic. Delta, yeah.
Also cicadas. There are multiple plagues.
There
True.
were cicadas.
If it's not, well, actually, it's all nature. Deadly virus, that's nature. Cicadas, nature. Basically, nature is like at the same time inspiration to creatives, but also a hindrance to creatives, but also a teacher to creatives, because when these things pop up, we learn how to adopt and adapt and make things work for us in whatever situation is going on. So at least there's that. Okay.
100%.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. So you talked a lot about the project that Camila, you wrote, and made happen during the pandemic. Did you guys want to talk about that at all, or do you want to like not kind of keep it a little hush hush still? So I mean, we don't have to talk about that if you don't want to. I just think if you wanted to at least kind of talk about what it was like, at least to put on that different hat for, like, you say that you're usually a sound mixer, sound recorder, things like that. So to, like, take this new hat and just say, I'm going to write this thing and direct it. Like, what did that feel like for you?
So I just want to start by saying that I didn't write it. I wrote the original script, but I had a collaborator come in, Lucas Gibrito, who then turned my crazy ideas into an actual script. He's primarily a screenwriter. I'm not. It felt like a nightmare, I was gonna say. I am someone who can't really sit still. My mother says that when I was younger, I didn't even like silence. I would get into a room and say, okay, so what we're going to talk about. So when the pandemic hit, I had all these crazy ideas. Some of it still exists in some PDF formats or Word documents or in some random Google Drive folder hidden somewhere. And that was one that felt very timely. With a lot of things that were happening in the United States, in Brazil, and then in other countries as well. It just felt like within the world that we're living in, that one felt it was the right moment to do it. And it also felt like something that while I was going through and working with a touchy subject, I've always been comfortable talking about race and interested in talking about race and how people see themselves in the world. So that's how it came to be. But the actual process of doing it, working on a different position than what I'm used to, it felt crazy. It's like, doing something for the first time. You never know how it's gonna go. You have all these ideas of how it should be and how it should look. And then you wrap production, you don't remember half of the thing that you shot because you're running around for half the time. And then you watch the first cut and you want to die because it doesn't look anything like what you envisioned in your head. And then you take a step back and then you watch it again and you're like, no, I actually really enjoyed this. It's just being able to step away from something that you created and you wanted to, you fixated so much on how it should look and how it should be, and then you give it some time and you give it some appreciation for everyone else who was involved in the project, and you trust the process, and it comes out sometimes as good, if not better, than what you wanted in the first place. You just have to be able to let go a little bit.
And I think you had a really good support system throughout this.
Yes, I don't
During
know how Samantha,
pre-production.
I don't know how Samantha is my friend, but
Like I say, despite your best efforts, I'm still here.
there was some bickering. There were things said. And yes, there was I'm nothing but grateful of the amount of people that have poured their love and support into this project.
Awesome.
And I don't think I will ever be able to thank them the way that I should, or the way that I want in my heart to thank them.
Awesome. So, talking about that kind of brings up a really interesting thing, because I've sort of mentioned it when I was talking about you guys beforehand, how you all wear various hats when it comes to like productions. You've done almost pretty much everything there is to do, more or less. You guys have done lighting, you've done camera work, you've done writing, directing, producing. Are there like certain hats when it comes to film work that fit you best, and some where you just realize this is not the hat for me, and you kind of just like put it back on the rack? So like, just say that's a sometimes hat. I don't need to like wear it all the time.
I will be the first to say that I will do anything else, but don't ask me to executive produce. I'm not organized for that. And I don't think sound is my forte either. But that's okay, because Sam and Camilla have both of those covered.
Personally go for it.
Yeah, I've produced or done production coordination for multiple projects since we've graduated, and I enjoy it, but not enough to keep doing it. And I'm putting this out there. I don't think I've told anyone this. But after I just realized I'm more of a creative person than I am a logistical type person. And that's kind of where the writing, and I'm very much a person who likes to work alone, which is difficult to do in film because you have to work with a team, and I will work on anything and do whatever when it comes to, anything Samantha's doing, Ricari's doing, Camila's doing, because I trust and I love working with them. But as a person who does like to work alone, I very much have found my niche in screenwriting and in editing, because they're very, for the most part, very individual areas. And it really allows me to focus on what I'm interested in and the stories that I want to tell. And I love other people's stories, but really, I just want to work on what I want to work on. And that's something that I've learned in the last few years and all the different projects that I worked on. And I've loved every single project that my name has been attached to. There's not one that I would say that I hate, but I just prefer to work on my own stuff.
I feel kind of the opposite, which is why it works. I really thrive on problem solving, and I see myself as an advocate for the creatives that I work with. And that's what fills my cup. It's harder for me to be that advocate for myself, which is why, I find myself producing a lot instead of directing, which is totally fine. And I think that you need both.
Yeah, you certainly need like different types of people to be able to pull filming projects together. I personally do not like to wear multiple hats. I avoid it as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I tell a lot of people, just because I directed a piece, that doesn't mean I'm a director. And there are a lot of people look at me and say that's exactly what it means. And I'm like, no, I'm a sound mixer. I'm not a director. But you know, it works for a lot of people. For me, what sometimes one person wearing a lot of hats does, it doesn't open up the space for other creatives to come in and help elevate your project. So even though I came from post-production sound, I made a decision, even though it's not the most financially smart decision. I made a decision to work with a post-sound team in my project, because I know that once you step away from certain things that you're used to doing, you open up the room for other people to make your project better. So I try to not wear multiple hats if I can afford to not wear multiple hats, because a lot of people too that I know, they wear multiple hats by necessity most of the time. It's not by choice. So I think that makes a difference.
Awesome, excellent. So, and I know that, you know, one of the things I like about you guys is that you're such a diverse group. I mean, you're all women, but you're all women with different backgrounds and different, like, you know, everything. And it's just like, and I know that on your website you say this, you know, how important it is to tell stories to underrepresented people, you know, wherever way, shape, or form they might take. And I was just want to know, I want you guys to kind of like take a moment and talk about the importance of, you know, storytelling for, you know, people whose, you know, ways of life, or, you know, genders, ethnicities, you know, sexuality, all these different things, how important it is for those to be represented both on screen and behind the scenes, you know. So if we could just kind of like take a second to talk about that, I think that'd be a really awesome to do.
I can go first, but I feel like I've talked a lot. All right, I will go. Definitely, especially with film, which I think is one of the reasons that I really fell in love with it and wanted to continue to do it, is it's such a universal medium. Like, every country has its own vision of it. Everybody, it's something that feels universally liked and people will expose themselves to. And so I feel like it's a good entryway, that if you can show representation of people who might not be on screen as usually, or whose voices need to be heard, it's the best medium to humanize. Once you see someone on screen, I feel like it's the first step to making someone real and humanizing them for everyone else and relating them to whatever their plight might be. And that's why it's something that I love to do and why it's such an important thing for me.
She said it all.
Okay.
We don't gotta say it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, really, all I was gonna say was, like, there's so many voices out there, and there's so many stories and different ways of telling the same kind of story. And I know that all of us are interested in seeing how these different stories are being told, and we're tired of the same white cis male version of life, because that's not our experience for any of us in this group. And you know, we personally seek to work with people who, for the most part, don't fall into that typical, you know, cis male white director group. And I mean, that's part of the reason why we created this group in the first place, you know.
I feel like we've all had experiences feeling I don't know, gaslit, or like our point of view didn't matter because of some reason or another. And I think there's really power in coming together. And why are you laughing, Camille?
I'm laughing because this happens to me this past week. Y'all know what
That's what I'm
happened.
Yeah,
saying.
we know.
It's happened to all of us, and I think it happens to, you know, lots of people that you know, just saying that all of these different stories and all of these different voices are important and matter, and yeah, it's important.
Excellent. Okay, so in terms now to kind of continue on this topic of like stories being told, let's take a second and kind of back up and say some stuff about like overdone stories. So like what are some like story tropes or like, you know, things that are like typical in movies that you kind of like see all the time, but just thinking, could we do without that? Like, you know, what are those certain plot lines that, you know, or like, you know, whatever else that might be in like a story that you're kind of just like, stop doing that, please stop doing that for the love of God. Like what are some of those things like that, you know, you feel just get rid of them? Like
Ready, let me say it. Films with lesbian women which end up with the woman choosing the man at the end.
I was gonna say that.
I was gonna
Or-
say killing any sort of queer relationship. Like I've never seen one where they both survive to the end.
Yes.
That
Or
I could go
coming of
my
age stories.
yeah. I
Coming
could go
of
my
age stories about
entire
teenage white boys.
yes. I could go my entire life if I never saw another cop procedural drama.
yeah. Yeah, I've got tired of those myself. So yeah. But yeah, so I mean these are all like really good things that kind of like need to be like done away with for sure, or like at least put them on a shelf and don't touch them for at least 50 years, you know, like let's try some different things, you know, maybe more than 50, who knows.
If you had different groups of people directing those stories that we feel like are overdone, maybe they would turn out completely differently. So I wouldn't say let's shelve the genre or shelve that is specific type. Let's maybe just like cycle through the people who are producing or directing these pieces and see if they turn out the same way.
Right.
And if they do, yeah, let's shelve them. But if not, then you know, then there's a way to go through quote unquote same material and make it seem differently and come out differently. If you have different people tell that story from a separate point of view.
Right, sort of like giving all these different tropes or whatever that feel overdone, like the A Star Is Born treatment, where it's like, you know, there's like 4 million different versions of it, but they're all somehow very different from each other. But just like say like, you know, the procedural drama thing, you know, maybe don't have that be the same typical like, you know, cop does this or does that. Maybe have someone tell the story from the opposite side, or like from somebody who's, I mean, I'm sure they've done with them where like somebody's like within the system trying to change it, but like, you know, obviously not doing a very good job at it for whatever reason. So it's like, you know, but like yeah, so there's are ways for these things to be given new life. It's just a matter of like giving people the opportunity to do that, you know, because it's like it's sort of like how everything's getting a remake or a reboot nowadays. Like I'm just thinking how they're working on that Lord of the Rings series for Amazon, even though the original trilogy movie came out like what 20 years ago or so. So it's not like that far away. I mean, they're all still well received. Everyone still watches them, and they're like whole extended edition DVDs every year and such. But now it's like we decided that we want to go back to Middle Earth on Amazon for whatever reason. Like, do we need that? It's like it feels like those are the kind of it's part of like that world where it's like it's been done. Let's try something else. You know? Yes, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Instead, let's give that money for that to I don't know, Boob Sweat's next film instead.
Yeah, like I'm
Yes.
sure the millions of dollars that are that's being invested into this can go to you guys or literally any other, independent production company to make something that's obviously not the same tier of, in terms of like, Lord of the Rings, whatever you're expecting, but still something that's probably going to be better and or well received because
You don't
it's
know,
a-
Justin.
more
It could be
interesting.
Lord of the Rings tier.
maybe it is. I know. I can't say for sure because I don't know. I'm talking. I'm
With
just
that
talking.
money,
Oh,
it
that's
could be.
I mean, if someone gave me like millions of dollars to make a Lord of the Ring sort of thing, I'd do it. But I'd say I'm going to do it. But I'm going to leave Mr. Tolkien's work alone. I'm going to come up with something on my own. It's like it's one of those things. It's like if you like, because I know I don't know if you guys. I know I took a class in grad school where I feel like it was. Oh, what was that class? I think it was about writing about yourself as an artist or something. And the professor for that class had us like work in groups in that class, and we created our own languages for like these creatures, for these like, species we made up. And it was just like the weirdest thing. And I can understand why it was like done in a class about writing about yourself as an artist and such like that. But at the same time, it was just the weirdest thing to like, be working on this project where me and whoever else was in my group were working on this language for these snake people and just like trying to figure out how to like how the verbs and everything else works. And it's just like I remember nothing about it, but it's just like it's fun to create and it's fun to like adapt things, but at the same time it's like some things don't need to be readapted, but if they are readapted, maybe don't let the same basic guys who do all the stuff in Hollywood do it, like let someone else get a chance at it, I guess is that. But speaking of large amounts of money, like let's talk dream collaboration. Like who are some of the like artists that you like you'd love to work with, but like you're sure that it would never happen? I mean, anything's possible, obviously, but who are those dream people that you want to work with, like on a project, whether it's like like producing with them or like writing with them, or like who out there do you want to like work with to help bring your stuff to light? Like is it like a Seth Rogen, or is it like a uh, who am I thinking about? Ming Na Wen, or whoever it is, like like or doesn't have to be actors. I just think off the top of my head. So like, who are those people that you would want to like work with for whatever project that you have in mind?
Issa Rae,
Ooh, that's a nice one,
immediately.
for sure. That's a really nice one.
I would be her assistant. I just want to meet her.
Just get her coffee. Don't even work on anything creatively. Just that's all it would take.
I just
right
want
there.
her. I just want her success to rub off on me.
Don't we all?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Literal goals. Yeah.
I thought Imani was gonna say Ava. I thought for sure she was gonna say Ava.
I honestly thought she said that too, but like just boom right out the gate. Issa Rae. Okay, that I can respect that. So
I mean, I've been tracking Issa Rae's career since I was an undergrad.
Mhm.
So I know she's living the life and the career that I wish I had. And I think also, and this is also part of, I just want to say this because Numa Perrier just followed me on Twitter today. So I'm very like pressed.
Oh.
And I love her, and her career is like skyrocketing. It's amazing. And I would love to work with her. And Camila's going to hate that I say this, but for my next script, if I don't direct, I would love for her to direct my next script.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like she would be able to tell the story as well, probably better than me. If she's watching this.
Okay. I'm not gonna hate it. Hey, it's your project. You do whatever you want with it.
Oh, okay. Now they're going to work.
And make it.
I would love to do any type of dark fantasy with Guillermo del Toro, who is my all-time favorite writer, director. Absolutely obsessed. I have several books on his work. I saw Pan's Labyrinth as a child and loved it. I actually prefer his films, his Spanish-speaking films, other than the ones he does in English. And whatever I write with him, I want Angela Davis to star in it.
I have way too many people. I can't answer this question. It's tricky. There's so many people that I've come to learn in Brazil, and I, even though I've been here for almost 8 years, I feel very attached to Brazilian cinema, even though I've never worked in that industry. So there are so many actors, Fernanda Montenegro, Lázaro Ramos, Wagner Moura, a lot of people that, like, I can go on and on and on and listing them, but someone that I've always admired, and it's not only myself, I think my whole family loves that woman, is Viola Davis. She's someone that transcended like Hollywood. She's someone that, you know, she's so big, and I of course don't know her personally, but everything that she's been on has made my heart melt or burn or crash and feel all types of things, and I think she'd be such an amazing person to work with. And but I'm only choosing her name and talking about her specifically because I know that I'm not the only person in my family who feels that way. There are a lot of people who feel that way about her as well. And I also think it's a little bit more relatable if we are talking to an American audience to pick American actors or.
Wait, I realized I said Angela Davis and I meant Angela Bassett. Sorry, I was being there.
I thought that's I thought that's what you meant, but like I
realized I'm like editing. I'm like, oh no, I said the wrong name.
You want to work with Angela, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to work with Angela Davis too, whatever she wants. She wants to act, I'm here for it. But Angela Bassett with Guillermo del Toro, yeah, but bad.
I would love to produce something with Chloe Zhao. I just feel like the way that she works is so fascinating to me. And from like a producing perspective and a creative perspective, I just feel like it would be such a powerful experience to work on a project with her.
Excellent. These all great options and choices. So looking at the clock, it's getting about that time we should wrap up. So I've only got like a few more things. So seeing as how this artist talk is part of a festival that's geared towards young people between 13 and 25 to, like, you know, give them a chance to have their work, you know, seen by wider audiences and such. And I know a lot of you have, all of you actually, you've all like watched the films at least for the last couple years or so, you know, it's like for like whatever reason. And I just want to maybe talk about, like, you know, the importance of a festival like this for the younger folks, you know, that the focus is directly on them and their creative work, you know, like how that is something that's not only important but also needed for, you know, people.
I think the festival is a great opportunity for young filmmakers, especially this new generation that's coming up. These Gen Z kids are insanely amazing and talented and incredibly smart, and they're really going to change the film industry. And though people of our age, though I know Camila's still like part of that young filmmaker age, like we're setting, you know, we're trying to move away from our parents' generation of filmmakers and our grandparents' generation of filmmakers and stories that are being told, because there's, like we said, there's so many diverse voices and stories out there. And this film festival, this, you know, the Flint Youth Film Festival, is an amazing opportunity for these kids to come in and say, I have a story to tell. And, you know, even if they're as young as 13, that's amazing. Like, I wish I had started making films when I was 13. And they're lucky enough to be growing up in a time where making film is accessible. And regardless of equipment and budget. You know, if you have a smartphone, which most of these kids have smartphones, they can make a film. And it's just great that they're starting early and they're getting their foot in the door as early as possible. And they're saying, like, this is what we're interested in. These are the stories that we want to tell. And you're going to watch and you're going to listen to what we have to say, whether you like it or not. And you're going to enjoy it because they're just so good. Like the films that I've watched from this festival over the last couple of years, a lot of them are really amazing. And for them to be so young, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I would say every year when Justin sends me the email of like, hey, are you available to judge the Flint Youth Film Festival, is the highlight of my year every year, because I'm always so excited to see what they're doing. And like Omani said, I'm also always impressed. It's definitely, I would say the Youth Film Festival is that a lot of people will tell these kids that because they're young, they don't have a lot of experience, that they should fall under, fortunately, what I feel like a lot of our generation, millennials, and I will even see younger Gen Xers fell under, is that you have to work under someone first and learn the trade and pay your dues, and then you'll make it, which is a myth and not what we should be perpetuating. I don't care how young you are. If you have something to say, you have something to say, and it's valid. And if film is how you want to express this, go forth, be great.
They don't need me. The one thing that I have to add to this, because they were already so poetically and so beautiful at everything that they said, that if you do have a budget and it's a small budget, it might be a smart choice to invest in sound. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sam, if you want to say something real quick before I moved on at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on film festivals for a long time, and I think they're such a wonderful way for people to get their work seen, have the validation of an audience looking at their work, but also to meet other people and to network. And especially for a local film festival, it's really amazing to see who else is working, in your neighborhood that you might be able to collaborate with in the future. So I'm excited for the filmmakers and the festival for that reason as well.
Yeah, awesome. And so, Camilla, she already kind of transitioned into this. So, but the last thing before we wrap everything up was going to be, what sort of words of wisdom or inspiration would you give to anyone who's watching this if they're interested in making a film or giving it a shot, or like working with their friends to do anything like that? And investing in sound was a good start. So if anyone wants to add on top of that, or just say anything else in general of inspiration,
That's on the technical level, and I only mean that because it's usually the thing that throws your audience off at the first. We've all heard it if we've gone to film school or if we've watched a YouTube video on filmmaking. That sound, if it can throw your audience off, if it's badly recorded. So that's why I was saying what I said. And it's by no means self-promotion, even though I work as a sound mixer. But what I would say to someone who's starting out is, oh boy, this is a business of rejection, but it doesn't mean that the people rejecting you are right. Learn from your mistakes, but try not to bite more than you can chew. Start small and build up from there, because it's easier to learn from your mistakes when you're starting small. That way not everything falls apart at once. It's one thing fall apart, and then you learn, and then you apply to the next project and the next project, and so on.
My advice would be to think carefully about who you want to work with and try and find people who are smarter than you and know different things than you. and who you're excited and inspired by working with. And it makes it more fun, and it, will make you not want to give up when things get hard, because, you are there also, as a team.
I feel like at this point, our Boob Sweat motto collectively is the best production and post-production is good pre-production. If you can anticipate it before you even get on set, the better, because it is less of a what will, it's like if something will go wrong on set, of what will, and if we already have a solution planned for that. Also, whatever you shoot is never going to look the same in your mind, and don't take it too personally. Things just evolve and change as you go through the motions of filmmaking.
Exactly. I was actually going to say that, you might have an idea at the beginning of the story you wanted to tell or how you want it to look. And by the time that you have finished your edit, it could be a completely different thing. And that is okay.
Okay, and I think those are fantastic words to end this on. So with that, I'm going to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me and just, have a good time and talk about what we enjoy doing. I've had a fantastic time because, it's just been nice to see you guys, talk to you guys for the first time in a while, I think. I mean,
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, yeah, for various reasons. But it was fun. I enjoyed myself, and hope you guys enjoyed yourselves too. Yeah. You can lie and say you did. It doesn't matter. So.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Justin.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. And hopefully, everyone who is watching this enjoy themselves, and hopefully they will tune into future artist talks that we have going on in the future. So with that, we will end this session and hope you have a wonderful day, evening, whatever you have going on. So, bye.